True Crime Society podcast contains adult themes and violence and is not intended for all audiences. Listener discretion is advised. And if you'd like to skip the intro or move to any specific part of the podcast, please refer to the timestamps listed in the episode description. Thank you. What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the True Crime Society podcast with Stephanie and Olivia. It is August 16th, 2026. We just celebrated baby Jack's first birthday today.
Ooh,
a year ago
made
today,
it.
actually. I think, yeah, I know. I think it's when we brought him home from the hospital. I got the little picture reminders of my phone of him in his car seat leaving the hospital. He looks like such a little tiny little turd nugget.
It's so,
'Cause he's so tiny.
and you forget, because when you see them every single day, you don't notice the difference. Like, the changes happen so subtly that you don't notice, and then all of a sudden they're one, you're like, oh my God, it's so grown up. But when you look back, it's crazy how tiny and, such little things they were.
Yeah, and he's a big chubber now. He had his 1-year doctor's appointment, and he's 82nd percentile for weight. So those who don't know what that means, I think it's that he's heavier than 82% of babies his age, basically. I'm sure someone's going to tell me that's wrong, but it means he's a big
That
chubber.
was always my understanding too. Like, yeah, I could also very well be wrong. It's been a while.
I know, because I don't have anything to compare it to, so I'm like, I don't know. I don't know that he's like a big chunk, but whenever someone sees him, they're just like, oh my God, look at those rolls. He's so chubby. So yeah, it's been a crazy year. I made it through. It's been tough. When people tell you having a baby is tough and it's really hard, they're not lying. But like I said, there's so many great moments. It's so funny seeing them develop like a personality. It's like, where do they pick this stuff up? And you're like, it has to be from me, since he's with me all the time. But it's just funny when they start having like a personality, a little bit of an attitude, some sass. He's being a silly man.
When my daughter was tiny, like, we used to say, "Where's your cheeky face?" And she'd like screw. She's probably about Jack's age now. She'd like screw up her face, and she'd do it all the time because we'd always laugh. And anything that gets a reaction out of them,
yeah,
they continue doing.
Well, that's what we say with him. It's probably similar. He makes like a kind of a scrunch face, and sometimes he like snorts out air, like he's going like. And we call it his tough guy face. So we're like, oh, Mr. Tough Guy over here.
Even we used to call
Mr.
that your
Tough
piggy
Guy.
face. Where's your piggy face? Because like they do the snort. They try and snort.
So cute. But yeah, what's going on with you?
Oh, so yeah, I've been really, really sick. When we recorded last week was Monday. I was pretty sick. Tuesday, I thought maybe I felt slightly better. Then Wednesday came along and I was just on death's door. I don't know what it was. I tested for COVID, RSV, both influenzas. I was certain it had to be one of those things. It wasn't. I still don't know what it was. It must have just been some weird virus, because then Thursday rolled around and I felt like 80% better. Wednesday night I had to go to bed at 8 o'clock. I couldn't even keep my eyes open. I was so sick. But yeah, Thursday I wake up, I'm like, wow, I actually think I feel better. It was so unexpected just because of how horrible I felt. I thought this is going to take a while to get over. All of a sudden I woke up, felt heaps better. Obviously I'm still congested, but I feel fine. It's just the congestion. So don't know what it was. Every single person in my house had it. There's been like, every person I speak to is like, yeah, half my kids' grade is away. Don't know. Someone told me they had influenza A. When I tested myself and my daughter, we didn't have it. So I don't know if it was, I don't know. I don't know what it was. It's a mystery. Hopefully we will never ever have it again though. But leading on from that, one thing I just want to clarify too is that when we recorded last Monday, I definitely wasn't my best self. We were talking about Lindsay Clancy. I made a flippant comment that I probably shouldn't have made, where I said that Patrick Clancy could have just left, when we were discussing kind of the motives and how people were insinuating that he may be involved in the murders or maybe has framed Lindsay. And I made a comment along the lines of he could have just left. So that was, I apologize for that. It didn't come out how I wanted it to say. I didn't articulate what I was trying to say. It was a flippant comment that I was just foggy. I wasn't myself. Should have taken more care with what I was trying to say. But basically what I was trying to say is that I didn't believe at the time that Patrick really had a motive to want to frame Lindsay and be involved in the children's murders. I know some things have come out in the last week where now I'm not so sure about that. I'm not going to give opinions really on the Clancy case probably anymore, but there's just so much noise in the case. Like I am see it on TikTok. I know basically everything that's been said. I know about the rumors with Patrick Clancy and his new wife and when they met, and about other things that are going on. So maybe it will turn out that he did have some motivation. I don't know, but I was just I was caught up in the moment and I was frustrated, and it just came out poorly and incorrectly. We had someone point out that we always say in our family annihilator episodes, like, we just don't understand why they just didn't leave. Some people don't leave and can't leave. I absolutely agree with that. We've always said that. So I just wanted to kind of clarify what I meant and apologize for how poorly it came out, because it was absolutely not what I was trying to convey at the time.
Yeah, this case is crazy. I mean, I did clarify some things I said. I'm not taking back what I said because I still feel that way, but I did want to clarify it because some people took what I said as like saying, if you have a different opinion than me or you are questioning Patrick Clancy, that I think you're stupid. And that's not necessarily what I meant. I more so was frustrated, and I think the brainless activity is from the online discourse where people are treating it and creating a circus, which I think I said pretty clearly, but like some people kind of focus on some other things I said. But to me, it's the people that are making funny, silly TikToks about it, like just going, trying to get views. Like, you know what I mean? Like, people see it. A lot of people have messaged me saying, I know exactly what you're talking about. I see it. And I totally agree with you that the online discourse is just like not always. It sounds like I'm a snob to be like, it's not appropriate. But you know what I mean if you see it. It just seems very lowbrow.
Yeah, like even we've been making pretty regular Lindsay Clancy update posts on our grid, like on Instagram and on Facebook, for example. Like, we'll post if something particularly of note happens in the trial that day, we'll make a post about it. And on every single post, people comment things that are misinformation or only part information. And I feel like, and I think we mentioned it last week, a lot of the things that people are running with as fact aren't actually fact. It's kind of a half truth or half information that they're twisting in to be something that it isn't. And like, for example, one example I'll give of that is when they speak about how Lindsay's DNA and fingerprints weren't on the exercise bands that were used to kill the children. But there are reasons for that. Like, the material of the banding isn't great for testing. It doesn't mean that her fingerprints weren't on there. They just weren't discernible and able to be used. So there are, like, people I feel get half the story and are running with things like that in the Lindsay Clancy case. You know, who knows how it will turn out? Maybe it will turn out that Patrick had more involvement. I don't know. Like, we don't know. We only know what is at the trial. I think just because people can watch it for 7 or 8 hours a day, people are so invested, can hang on to every single word. It's just, it's like, I can't even imagine being a prosecutor or the defense in this case. And imagine the amount of emails. And every time I'm on TikTok and I see someone speaking about, say, something with Patrick and his new wife, Rachel, and about things when they met, they're like, have you emailed the attorney? Have you done this? I'm like, oh my gosh, it would be such a mess. It would be, you know, again, like I mentioned, I feel like some of the things I've seen this week have like raised my eyebrows. They have raised some questions in my mind. Whether or not it will have any bearing on the case, I guess, remains to be seen. But it's just a case. And in the Patreon, I said, the trial has taken a twist that I never would have expected. I knew it was going to be a high profile case and everyone was going to be interested in it. But just the direction that it's taken, kind of been more towards Patrick and about his new wife online, I would never, ever have imagined would have, you know, this is what the main discourse would have been about.
Yeah. And I'm not going to go on and on about it because, one, I don't want to be harassed by people any longer. And two, we're going to do a Patreon episode about it next week about the trial so far. So I'll save most of my thoughts for that. But I do want to say that I have not changed my mind because people have been like messaging me dissertations trying to tell me why I'm wrong. And have I heard this? Have I heard this? Have I heard this? I've heard it all. I still do not think Patrick Clancy committed the murders. Do I think that he was complacent and checked out of the marriage and left Lindsay to kind of deal with it on her own? Yes. And I'll talk more about that in our Patreon episode. But I don't want anyone thinking that they have swayed me just because I don't feel like talking about it anymore, because I don't feel like being bullied anymore.
Yeah, it's, yeah. I don't know.
People are
like,
very volatile about this case. I don't even
and
want
it
to
is a very
post about it anymore.
polarizing case. Like for example, like I don't even want to get too much into this again, because
I know I keep being like, save it.
But if we post it, like, because we post obviously a lot of updates just about other cases on social media, and like there was a case, a case recently where a man killed his 4 children in Kansas in a murder-suicide, and people are like, well, where's the sympathy for him? Everyone's got sympathy towards Lindsay Clancy, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like there's apples to oranges. You can't compare. And I'm not saying like that has nothing to do with my position on Lindsay, but everyone is just going crazy about this case and attacking people for their views on the case. Like some people believe that Lindsay deserves empathy and compassion, whereas other people believe that she's a cold-blooded killer. So it's just there's such polarizing opinions that there doesn't seem to be much in between. It's just, so much argument, and people just have, massively different opinions. So it's causing a lot of discourse on the internet. Like I feel like my whole feed is just Lindsay Clancy on any social media platform at the moment. So and people who think they know, they're like, what about the Apple Watch and about her body temperature and all these things? I just feel like at some point you have to trust that either her attorney has a plan for whatever's going to come out, and that the investigators have done their job, because that is what their job is. Like we are all armchair investigators and armchair, jury essentially,
and don't have all the information.
No. And even at trial, the defense picks what they want to present, the prosecution picks what they want to present. Like you just have to trust that they hopefully know what they're doing, and the truth will come out, whatever that is. But it's just very chaotic at the moment.
Yeah. So just know, if you are writing me something that is longer than like half of a scroll, I'm not reading it.
And the other thing too,
and I know this sounds rude, but like I honestly do not have the time to like go through all of that. And I'm not trying to be rude. I'm just, as I said, taking care of a baby. I'm trying to keep up with things, and I just like can't, because half of the time it's like also just people being rude and condescending. I just can't. I'm sorry.
Yeah. We did also, people pulled me up on my comment, which I'm more than happy to be pulled up on things that I say if they're incorrect or whatever, which I am glad for the discussion. But we did have a lot of good discussion in comments too, from people who were like, yep, I believe this and this and this. Like there is intelligent discussion to be had about this case out there, and very balanced discussion, but there just is so much of the other too that is also out there. It's hard to find that. So we do appreciate all the comments that we got on the episode, and your thoughts. We love to read them as well. So yeah, we are planning to do an episode next week on Lindsay. It'll be the trial to date. I did ask on Instagram if people wanted like a day-by-day rundown of the trial, or if they wanted a general overview, and it was like literally 50-50. I think it was like 53 to 47 or something. So I still don't know exactly how we're going to structure it, but it'll be the main information about the case, the trial to date anyway, and that should be out next week, hopefully, unless something
on
else
Patreon
happens. Yeah, Patreon, yeah.
Because I'm not putting that out there for everyone.
Yeah.
I know it sounds ridiculous, but it's just, the last time I felt this way about a case was John O'Keefe, maybe.
Yeah. And even in the end, we didn't do an update on that, because I'm like, these just
because I'm too afraid of these people.
Yeah, and I am following the Lindsay Clancy case. I do the blog pretty much every day or every second day. If I am busy one day, I do the updates very regularly, so I know what's happening. I'm very across, I think, the majority of the rumors, but it's just one of those cases that is very polarizing, I guess is the one word to say it, and it has a lot of strong emotions. So
yeah. All right, we're talking too long about this, as usual.
I know. We'll definitely have to put a timestamp in.
Okay, so we have some new Patreon subscribers. We have Hannah, Nikki, Ashley, Max, Aiden, and
Ajay, I don't know. Maybe just say AJ Lambert or AJ. I don't know.
Okay, I don't know how to say this one, but it's AJE Lambert. Maybe initials, maybe, I don't know. Let us know what it is, and I'll clarify next time. But yeah, I don't know how to pronounce that one. And then we have our listener of the week.
Yeah. So this week, I feel like I've not by any, I haven't meant to, but I've picked people who have written longer comments. But as I just mentioned, we do appreciate all the comments that you guys send us. I did pick 2 that are a little bit shorter this week because that just shows me too that people take, a minute out of their day to say thank you, or to, if they have a question and things like that. So the ones I've picked this week are Tammy. She said, another great episode. Thank you for all your hard work. And Riddle wrote, my first time listening to this podcast, good storytelling. So we appreciate all the comments. Even, don't think that you have to write a novel to us if you just want to say hi. Like, even someone sent me a message on Instagram the other day and asked me to send photos of Donnie, my dog. So I did. That was funny. So, we just love little interactions like that. Feel free to send whatever you have time for. We always love to hear from you guys.
Yeah, unless you're going to yell at us about Lindsay Clancy. Before we get into the rest of the episode, we have a quick word from our sponsor, Instant Hydration. Did you guys know that over 75% of Americans are chronically dehydrated and 90% don't get enough potassium, which is a key electrolyte responsible for energy, muscle function, and clear thinking? That's why so many people feel tired, foggy, crampy, or off, even when they're drinking tons of water. And I could say, after having a baby, not that I drink a lot of water ever to begin with, I'm definitely not drinking enough water now. It is so hard to remember to drink water throughout the day when I am fighting with my now 1-year-old. Instant Hydration is a premium electrolyte drink mix designed to support hydration, energy, recovery, focus, and overall performance without sugar or unnecessary additives. I have the icy flavors and the peach pineapple flavors, and they are so good. I love them. It is a great way to remind me to drink water, because if it tastes better, then I kind of think it's like a little treat, and then I'm more inclined to remember to drink it.
So we had a chat with the team from Instant Hydration, and they said some people actually make ices with the icy flavor, which is such a good idea for someone.
I have to try that.
They also told us that one of the biggest differentiators that Instant Hydration uses is they have French grey sea salt imported from France in their products, which is naturally harvested and rich in naturally occurring trace minerals. Most hydration products don't really talk about their salt source, or they use table salt, but it's actually one of the most important ingredients in an electrolyte. Instant Hydration contains 0 sugar, no glucose spike, and no sugar crash. For a better way to stay hydrated, go to instanthydration.com/TCS and use our promo code TCS for over 40% off your first subscription order. It's Instant Hydration's best offer available. That's instanthydration.com/TCS and use promo code TCS.
Oh my God, there's still more to talk about. We also have the Saratoga Springs update, finally, which we all kind of knew was going to come eventually.
A shocking, but not shocking update. Like, I don't know what took so long, but there's an update.
Yeah, so police finally made an arrest for the murders of Jessica Lyman and her son, Eli. We covered this case on the pod back in July. So on August 14, 2026, Saratoga Springs, Utah police arrested a 16-year-old boy in connection with the March 28th, 2025 killings of Jessica and her 8-year-old son, Eli. He was booked into juvenile detention, and investigators have referred 2 counts of first-degree murder to prosecutors. Because he is a minor, authorities haven't released his name. It's not yet been decided whether he will be prosecuted as a juvenile or an adult. So reading between the lines, if you listen to the episode, I think we can all assume who the 16-year-old is. I will not
Obviously,
say, since I don't want to get arrested. I don't know what'll happen if I say.
We can't confirm or deny if the 16-year-old is related to Jessica. There are people online who are absolutely confirming it. We are not any of them, but people are out there saying, who they think it is. And basically, I did read a comment that more searches took place recently. So maybe they found something that allowed him to be, if it is the 16-year-old, that allowed him to be arrested. I don't think it's a shocking update. We all knew it was probably heading that way. I guess we'll be shocked if it turns out to be another 16-year-old, but an update that I didn't think would take so long. I still don't quite understand why it did, but maybe we'll find out more. We might not find out too much more if they do decide to try him as a juvenile, because I feel like a lot of the time that's much more closed. But if they do go down the adult route, we might find out a little bit more.
Yeah. Okay, so finally, the topic of the day, we are going to be talking about the murder of Heather Turner, which involves a very smug entrepreneur, grifter husband, like the worst of the worst that I've seen. And we've seen a lot of them.
I was thinking today, we've covered actually a lot of cases where this scenario plays out in a very similar way. It just seems like there's
Yes.
this man who is
We've
arrogant.
heard it time and time again.
Yeah, yeah.
But he's going on a book tour, basically,
Yeah.
about it. So let's get into it.
The Paulding County coroner is leaving the final decision on Heather Turner's cause of death to a jury. Meanwhile, the sheriff's office says its stance remains the same. And Turner's husband, well, he says he's disappointed the case is being reopened. Heather Turner was found dead from a gunshot wound to the head at her Dallas home in 2017. The Paulding County Sheriff's Office says it supports the inquest, but stands by their own ruling from earlier this year that Turner died by suicide.
So the case is closed in our eyes.
An inquest means a 5-person jury will now decide if Turner's death was a suicide, a homicide, accidental, or undetermined. Coroner Lindsay Fuller says inquests are rare, but believes it's necessary in Turner's case.
Her death deserves to be examined through a process that is fair, impartial, transparent, and provided for by the law.
The sheriff's office says Turner's death remained undetermined for so long due to misinformation and mishandling evidence.
So the community has essentially had almost a decade to speculate. The rumor mill has been rampant. Lives have been torn apart.
We reached out to Turner's husband, Andy. He shared concerns with the inquest in a statement to Atlanta News First, saying the intense spotlight on the case would make it impossible to find an impartial jury. His statement goes on to say, in part, quote, "The continued pursuit of the matter has created additional attention, expense, and turmoil for a family that has already endured more than anyone should have to endure." A jury is expected to make a decision in January. Reporting from Paulding County, I'm Neomani Watson, Atlanta News First.
In the early morning hours of May 4th, 2017, Heather Turner, who was 35, was found dead inside her Georgia home from a gunshot wound to the head. Her husband said he heard a gunshot coming from the bathroom. Investigators found a gun, a handwritten note, and evidence that initially raised questions about what had happened behind that closed door. What happened to Heather Turner? So Heather was born on June 20th, 1981 in Douglasville, Georgia. Her parents were Billy and Vicki Millam. Vicki predeceased Heather. In 2000, when she was around 19 years old, Heather married a man named Philip Elsner. Their marriage became troubled and they sought counseling through their church, which was the Mount Carmel Baptist Church in Dallas, Georgia. Some reports say that the church is where Heather met Andy Turner. And Andy is said to have worked as a youth pastor. We've literally heard this story before.
Yeah, it's just so much Micah Miller, which I know we'll speak about at the end, but it reminds me so much of that case.
Totally. His father is Reverend Curtis Turner, who is a minister in Dallas, Georgia. Andy joined the church around 2004, and according to the Crime Salad podcast, Andy was married to another woman at this time, and he and his wife had 2 children together. Crime Salad also say that Heather and Philip had a child together, a son. We're not able to really corroborate that and don't have any other info on that. But you guys should also check out Crime Salad. They're a great podcast too that we are friendly with.
I have linked, embedded their episode on this in our blog too, if you want to check it out. But it was quite hard to find confirmed information before Heather and Andy got together. We know a lot about their family and things like that, but kind of the lives before are a little bit murkier, obviously, because it involves other spouses and possibly other children. So it was a little bit harder to find confirmed information about that.
So Heather and Andy would end up getting together, and the relationship went public around 2008, and they both divorced their respective spouses. According to Heather's obituary, she had 4 children named Austin, Caden, Bronson, and Alexis, and all of them are listed as having the last name Turner. Heather was working at the time of her death as a deputy clerk at the Paulding County Probate Office. There is a photo circulating online of what appears to be a mugshot of Andy, and we tried to find information about any criminal history on him, and what we found was a Georgia court record index shows a family violence case involving Elsner Philip E versus Turner Andy, which is interesting, filed in Paulding County on September 9th, 2009. The case is categorized as a family violence matter and ultimately shows it is dismissed. So this seems to be something involving Heather's first husband and Andy. According to Fox 5 Atlanta, Andy Turner's arrest records include a 2011 arrest for filing a false report of a crime and a 2018 arrest for violation of a family violence order. There's a website that Andy appears to have published that suggests they were involved in a business called, I don't know if it's like HABAK, Habak
I would
Co.
say Habak, I don't know. But yeah, it's
Yeah.
all the initials of their, like Heather, Andy, the children, all their initials.
Yeah.
But then there's only 3.
It's missing a kid, I think.
Yeah, who was the other one? Well, I guess there's 2 A's. Maybe they just, because there's Austin, Caden, Bronson, and Alexis. So maybe they combine
They're
the
like, you
2
guys
A's.
can share an A. Andy is the founder.
Did you look at the website?
I read this blurb. I didn't look at the website.
Let me just talk about the website quickly. So
Okay.
the website is still up. I don't know
why.
I don't know why he's left it up if he just doesn't know how to take it down. But basically the URL is andydonovanturner.wixsite.com/Habak co-team. So it's like a very DIY website. It's
like a GeoCities website.
Yeah, exactly. It's like what you would see probably in the early 2000s, maybe trying to build a website. It's very poorly written. I just find it so interesting that they were clearly trying to do this business, and it's still up there. It's just very unprofessional and very homemade for a business. So I wonder what their business goals were essentially based on this website.
Yeah. So this is the bio for Andy on the website, and I have to assume he wrote this himself. It is long, but I think I'm going to read it because it's just like the most exhausting thing I've ever read, and it made me know exactly what kind of person he is from the jump. So it says, Andy is the founder, owner, and principal in Habak Co. Andy has over 18 years of experience in business, from owning small companies to running the sales agency for $6.2 billion manufacturing giant. Only a certain personality can own businesses and work in multiple industries and excel as Andy has. In his self-description, we felt we should just quote him to capture more of this personality.
Just to interject quickly, a bunch of spelling errors, punctuation is horrible. It's just like, it looks like a grade school type effort.
And I'm like, what is this quote? You mean he just wrote this himself? Like, what is the quote from? Because it's not just like a little quote. It's like a pretty long thing. So this is the quote. I check my email before I get out of bed in the morning. I email at red lights. I text while I walk across the street. I take notes on the back of brown Starbucks napkins while I drive. And I love the phrase, "You're awesome." I love what I do. I have the enthusiasm of a high school cheerleader on Red Bull and Pixie Sticks. And that's before my morning coffee. Born in Atlanta, college in Virginia. Love my Atlanta sports. UGA, not GT. Every year I have a goal of traveling to a new country. And I do it. I've jumped off cliffs, bridges, and out of planes. I plan to cage dive with great whites in South Africa, hang glide in Rio, bungee jump in Thailand, search for the Loch Ness Monster in Scotland, and find Nemo scuba diving in the Great Barrier Reef in Australia. I've danced the flamenco in Spain, the samba in Brazil, the salsa in Puerto Rico. I've drank warm beer in Prague, cold beer in Berlin, and Guinness in Dublin. I've ate awful food in London, great food in Italy, starved in the Philippines, fell in love with St. Peter's fish in Israel. I've been on 18 cruises. When I'm not traveling, I'm thinking about traveling. I love to work, especially on a golf course. My most greatest accomplishment in life is marrying my beautiful wife, Heather, and having my 4 children. So I'm sure all of you are like, ugh, my God.
Yeah, this is like the worst type of person.
So then this is about Heather. It says Heather runs and oversees all financials for Habak Co. and its subsidiaries. She acquired the skills working in the banking industry for many years prior to becoming the wife of Andy Turner and working with him in the family businesses. Heather has worked in modeling and acting with several national spots that ran for consecutive years with obvious outward beauty Heathers.
This is, and because when you're reading it like that, this is how it's written. It's just, yeah, it's horrible.
Without doubt, is as beautiful inside. She currently has led the efforts to bring on multiple charities and screens them to become the annual benefactors of the company's events. Like, none of that made sense to me. And I'm like, he also wrote that because he just wanted to be like, yeah, I have a hot wife.
Yeah. And he gets like a whole page of stuff. And I don't even think I copied all of it over. Like, there's more on the website, whereas she gets one paragraph essentially.
Yeah. Then it also says, in fact, Habit Code contains the letters of each of the children's first initials along with Heather's. This shows what is most important to the owners is family. More than anything, Andy loves being a father and Heather loves being a mom, and this is priority in their lives. Okay, so services the company apparently offered. And I'm like, what the fuck is this company after reading this list? So they offer
basically
restoration.
anything you want the company could have done.
Grifters. Restoration, disaster cleanup and revitalization, home inspections, environmental testing, biohazard cleanup, general contracting, property management, vacation planning, property development, promotion and event planning, business consulting and coaching, marketing, public speaking, distribution, establishment, networking, lead design assistance, event planning again, celebrity appearances, property management.
Oh my gosh. So they must be really good at property management because they had that one in there twice.
And event planning.
They were obviously just trying to, I don't know, get something going, it seems. They were very general in their business dealings.
Yeah, I have no idea what this fucking business actually does. I just know that Andy loves to travel. Andy has described their relationship as being normal. He did say that Heather may have been concerned in May 2017 about losing her job. According to Crime Salad, Heather had confided in a coworker named Rob about problems in her marriage, saying, he told me that he would bury me before he signed divorce papers. Heather told Rob that Andy was trying to get her fired, and Rob would later say that Andy had gone to the courthouse where Heather worked and attempted to speak with a judge about having her terminated. He was said to have been escorted from the property. Imagine going and like, what?
Just
how embarrassing to be like, oh, here's my husband talking to my boss who
trying
the judge
to
try to get me fired.
Like, it reads to me that this was some type of financial control thing. It sounds like they were probably having marriage difficulties and she had a job and he thought, I guess, by taking that job away from her, she would have to stay in the marriage maybe. Yeah. I don't know. But it's just such a, like, I can't even imagine if my husband did that, or even like at my workplace, if someone's spouse came up and tried to get them fired. That's just wild.
You could tell that Andy really cares about controlling the narrative and wants a very certain and specific narrative out there about him. Heather apparently spoke with the probate judge on May 3rd, 2017, which is the day before she died. And she told the judge that she was concerned about Andy coming to the courthouse and told another coworker that she did not want to make a police report because it would anger him. A police report in the case has been released, and Andy said that on the night of May 3rd, going into May 4th, he and Heather had husband and wife time and that everything seemed normal. And just hearing that phrasing makes me sick to my fucking stomach.
I just feel like, do you know what, even if that was the case, I guess, I don't know, maybe he was trying to explain any DNA evidence that might be found later, but like, it just is so unnecessary. He could, like, you would expect as a husband and wife that maybe that would have happened anyway. So like, it just seems like, you know, when people give too many details,
like he's trying to flex.
For some reason, I don't know. I just thought that was so pervasive and invasive. Like, there was no need for him to include that, but I guess he might have had his reasoning for doing so.
Yeah, I think it's just part of the narrative that he wants to put off is like he's this like amazing guy with this amazing family. Like his wife worships him, his kids love him, he does it all. He's amazing. The ground that he walks on, we should be kissing it. You know. Yeah. So on Thursday, May 4th, 2017, Heather appeared to have set her alarm as usual and began prepping for her day. Andy said she was an early riser, saying she typically gets out of bed and sets her alarm around 5:30 to 5:45 a.m. Heather apparently kissed Andy and said good morning, got out of bed and went into the bathroom. And then Andy said he heard the shower running. Then around 5:30 a.m., according to his account, he heard a gunshot coming from the bathroom. Andy said he ran into the bathroom and found Heather lying on the floor with a gunshot wound to the head. She was naked and her hair was wet from the shower. A .38 caliber revolver was recovered at the scene. A handwritten note was also found that said, "I'm sorry, I love you." So this is a summary from the police report. It says, Andy Turner stated that his wife Heather, hold on, it's a little blurry, so bear with me. Andy Turner stated that his wife Heather was to be fired from her job at Paulding County Probate Court on the date of her death. Like, just throw that in there.
Yeah.
because he's trying to be like, oh, she committed suicide. He stated that on the previous morning of May 3rd, 2017, they had dinner at home and husband and wife time. He stated that this carried on into the night, all night. Oh. On May 4th, 2017, she kissed him and went to the bathroom to get ready for work. He heard the shower running and a shot a short time later. He ran into the bathroom and began CPR. Heather was found on her back on the floor, naked. Her hair was wet from the shower. She had an entrance wound, appears to have been on the right side of her head, and there may have been a possible exit on the left side. No bullet was recovered, and there were no markings present in the wall or surrounding area that we observed. Mr. Turner stated that his wife had been going through a lot recently with the prospect of losing her job. In addition, her grandfather had passed a few weeks earlier on or near the anniversary of her mother's death. Also, her ex-husband had notified her that he was going to be filing papers to get custody of her son and that his new wife was planning to adopt him. He's just putting it all out there, I guess. Mr. Turner stated that Heather seemed to be in good spirits even though these things were going on and never voiced suicidal ideations. There was alcohol present on one of the nightstands in the bedroom, and a wall near the toilet had appeared to be washed. Scene photos were taken by the Paulding County Sheriff's Department, and Mrs. Turner was transported to the GBI on May 4th, 2017 for autopsy. The body bag she was placed in was sealed, and then it just goes into more technical information. So interesting that he, I don't know if I think him listing out every grievance in her life right now is weird, or it's because I'm already biased against him. Is that weird that he was just well, she had this, which is probably why she.
I wonder also how
herself.
he knew she was going to be fired. Maybe you have an inkling that something might be up, but usually if you get terminated,
because he's the one going to the courthouse trying to get her fired.
But usually, if you're going to go from a job, they don't say coming tomorrow and we'll fire you. They kind of, it's generally a surprise, not a surprise. You might still know it's in the works, but you generally don't have, I don't know. There's a lot of questions. There's a lot of information in there for such a short police report. He has given a lot of
It's did he just word vomit this all out, literally at the scene right then and there? I don't know. Again, I don't know if I'm just biased or it's weird. So despite hearing the gunshot around 5:30 a.m., he didn't call 911 until around 6 a.m., which is really what gets me, because what?
Yeah.
He told the dispatcher that Heather had shot herself. Officers arrived at the home at 6:13 a.m. and EMS arrived at 6:15. The 911 call's online and it's around 15 minutes long. There's a lot of dead air, so not sure if it's because Andy had bad phone service or some of it was redacted, but we'll put in some parts of it.
Yeah, so I've listed, so there is actually a YouTube channel called Justice for Heather Turner, and they have the whole clip on there. So I've linked their clip on our blog if you want to listen to it. I listened to the whole thing this morning. I had to keep checking if it had cut out because there's just a whole bunch of times where there's just no sound, and I can't tell if it's because either it's been redacted for public release because the 911 dispatcher will then go on to say things that I hadn't, reference things that I hadn't heard. She made a comment along the lines of, you said he didn't want to give up because he's trying to give CPR, but I hadn't heard that previously. So anyway, I don't know if it was purposely or if it's just bad quality, but basically he calls, he's sobbing, he says that his wife has shot herself, and the dispatcher's trying to get him to calm down, and at one point it sounds to me almost like he's retching, I don't know if he was throwing up or if it's just a sound that was made in the thing, but he does it sounds like it quite a few times, and the dispatcher asks if he's all right. And then towards the end of the call, Andy's parents arrive at the house and his dad gets on the phone and he basically says that Heather is beyond help. There's not really any point in doing CPR. The dad's very calm. And that also, then he says, the dispatcher asks if he can go and open the door and let the emergency services in. So it is an interesting call. Andy is very frantic. He's hysterical, which is, I guess, not a surprising reaction to no matter what's happened, but it is hard to understand. It's not the best quality, but it's an interesting listen if you want to check it out. It's on the blog.
Yeah, I'll put in some parts of it, and the dead air, obviously, I'll edit out just for the sake of this being a podcast.
Paulding County 911, what's the address of your emergency? Listen, your phone is cutting out. I can't understand you. What's the address?
It's 80 Buck Trail, B-U-C-K.
Okay, what is the numerics? I know Buck Trail. What is the numerics?
88 Buck Trail.
Okay, 88 Buck Trail.
Yes, ma'am.
Sir, is that in Paulding County?
It is.
Okay, what are you calling to listen, what are you calling to report?
Clancy shot herself in the bathroom.
Your wife just shot herself? Was this intentional? Listen, was this intentional? Sir, take a deep breath. Listen, was this intentional?
Yeah, I'm a police officer.
Okay, listen, sir, take a deep breath. Listen, responders, sir, take a deep breath. Responders are being notified, but I have some more questions for you. It's not going to slow them down. What's the phone number you're calling me from? Take a deep breath. What's your name?
My name is Andy.
What's your last name, Andy?
Turner.
Okay, Andy, listen to me. What is an intersecting road to Buck Trail?
High Shoals Road.
High Shoals Road. Okay, now is your wife, can you tell, is she still conscious? Andy, your phone's cutting out. Are you there?
What?
Andy.
Tell me what to do.
Listen, Andy, your phone's cutting out. You don't have good service. Can you get your wife to a hard, flat surface?
She's on a hard flat surface.
Where did she shoot herself? Where?
In the chest.
In her chest?
In the head.
In her head? Okay, Andy, is she... Andy. Okay, how old is your wife? Andy, how old is your wife?
37.
37? Andy, you don't have good reception. Is your wife 37?
Yeah.
Okay, listen, where is the weapon that she used? It's where?
It's right here beside it.
It's beside her. What kind of gun was it, Andy?
It's
A pistol?
yeah.
What's your wife's name, Andy? What's her name?
Heather.
Heather? Okay, and this Heather, you said last name is Turner?
Yeah.
Okay, keep compressing. You're doing a great job. Count out loud for me, Andy, okay? Good job, Andy. Good job. Do you have... Andy, listen, they've been notified since the very beginning of the call, okay? Nothing has slowed them down. I want you to... Andy, take a deep breath for me, okay? Keep doing CPR. Do you believe she's beyond all help, Andy?
I don't want to give up.
Okay. Just take a deep breath, Andy. Is there anybody else in the residence with you? Is it just you?
No, I got my baby daughter here.
Your baby daughter's there?
Yeah.
Okay. Andy, is she in a different room?
Yeah, I don't want her to walk in and see me.
Okay, take a deep breath for me, okay? I want you to keep compressing her chest. Is the front door unlocked for responders?
Oh, maybe what?
Andy, is the door unlocked for responders for when they get there?
I need to go open the depot.
Okay, listen, I'll tell you when they get there for you to do that. Let's keep compressing your wife's chest hard and fast 100 times a minute, okay?
Okay.
Keep going. You said you didn't want to give up, so I need you to count out loud for me, okay?
At 6:57 a.m., Heather was pronounced dead by a Paulding County coroner, Lindsay Eberhardt. Her body was transported to the Georgia Bureau of Investigation for autopsy. The coroner's documentation describes the gunshot wound and notes that a bullet was not recovered at the time. It was later found during Heather's autopsy. It also reportedly noted an area of the bathroom wall near the toilet that had appeared to have been cleaned. A few days after Heather's death on May 11, 2017, the Paulding County Sheriff's Office requested assistance from the GBI. According to Fox, investigators began what would become one of the county's highest profile death investigations. Rather than being classed as a suicide, Heather's manner of death remained undetermined for years after her death. In U.S. death investigations, there are generally 5 recognized manners of death: natural, accident, suicide, homicide, undetermined. Andy employed a babysitter named Christy Chupp to help with the children. Some reports describe Christy as his nanny/girlfriend, and it's inferred that she started her relationship with Andy within weeks of Heather's death. Their relationship was initially described as good, but Christy alleges that Andy became increasingly controlling and violent towards her. She alleges that he pulled her hair and twisted her arm. According to Crime Online, Christy said Andy bent her fingernails so far backward that her acrylic nails were ripped off. Ugh. She also alleges that the physical abuse escalated to choking and a black eye. She also accused Andy of sexually assaulting and raping her. Andy allegedly told her to take off her underwear despite her saying no. She also alleged that during intercourse, he told her to hold Heather's ashes, saying this would allow him to be having sex with both women. Insane. Christy left and returned to the relationship multiple times. She said she did so after Andy promised to change. She ultimately ended the relationship and was granted a permanent restraining order against him in September 2018. Andy, of course, denied all the allegations and said they were absurd. He questioned why Christy had not immediately contacted police after the alleged assault. And Christy said that she was frightened and caught in the trap of an abusive relationship. In 2019, the case was transferred to the Paulding County District Attorney's Office, where it seemingly grew cold. And in 2022, the then Paulding County Sheriff's Office spokesperson, Ashley Henson, told reporters investigators would like to conduct a formal interview with Andy, saying one had not occurred yet, which, what?
That is crazy to me. That's like 5 years or after Heather's
I'm sure
death.
he was dodging it for one.
But how can he have not had a formal interview by 2022? That is absolutely... And especially, do you know what? Fair enough if the death had been ruled a suicide straight away, you would just take his account for what happened. But at this point, it was all still... There had been no ruling. So why had he not been formally interviewed? That is a serious...
very weird.
Oversight, in my opinion.
I'd like to know if they at least tried and he was just, being himself. Being like, I'm such a busy guy. I'm traveling the whole world having beer in Prague and cold
doing
beer.
Doing lots of dancing and eating lots of food.
I feel like I have to say again, because people are always like, oh, you guys are making light of a serious situation. I'm not making light of a serious situation. I hate this guy.
We're making light of Andy's ridiculousness. Absolutely, the situation
being a horrible, disgusting, awful human being. It's shocking to me what a fucking loser this guy is.
Yeah.
Loser. So Andy said he could not discuss the case because he was under contract for a book and a movie project. He denied any involvement in his wife's death. That same year, Heather's story was featured in a documentary titled It Couldn't Happen Here. And this is the little blurb about it. Yeah, the IMDb bio about it. It says Heather Turner was found shot in her bathroom. Officials open an investigation to determine suicide or murder. The case remains open and family is left with many questions. Producers filed Freedom of Information Act requests for police reports in the case, but were denied due to it still being classed as an open investigation.
So in 2023, Andy published a book. This is where it gets even cheesier, if that's possible for him.
It's what is he doing?
So the book is called Who Turned Up the Silence. The front cover is him wearing, looks like a tuxedo with a bow tie, and it's kind of, I've put the photo of the book on the blog and the Amazon bio and all that on there too if you want to check it out. But it's basically half his face. He's got a very stern, serious look on his face. They have included a quote from Lexi, who I guess is Alexis Turner. So one of their children on the front cover. They said, I was there. I know what happened. I know when the noise came exactly where my father was, which I find quite interesting because if I've deduced this correctly, Alexis is the only daughter. They seem to have had 3 other sons. And in the 911 call, he says that the daughter is asleep in the living room. So
it was 5-something a.m.
Yeah. 6 a.m. when he called 911. And in the 911 call that I listened to today, he specifically says, because the dispatcher is quite worried that the child is viewing this, and he specifically says, no, she's asleep in the living room. So anyway, there's a quote that says, Lexi says, I knew when the noise came exactly where my father was. There's another, a bit blurry.
It says, a testament to faith, family, and the power of the human will to persevere, stand up for who and what we love, and shed light in even the darkest places. Incredible story from Colby Ryan McLaughlin, actor, Parenthood, General Hospital, Graceland.
So the book is rated 3.6 stars on Amazon, 20 reviews. 33% of the reviews are 1 star.
I'm going to go give it a bad review.
Yeah. This is some more information about the book and some excerpts from it. It says, I bet you've heard it said 1,000 times, and it sounds something like this. Social media is a weapon used to bully, spread rumors, and give a false perception of reality. But how many of us hear what is being said but continue to feed into the lies of those hidden deep behind a keyboard? No one truly understands the aftermath of tragedy until they have experienced it firsthand. However, this truth doesn't seem to shake those that rely on social media to know how they feel about publicly made heinous accusations. Without hearing from those with first-hand experience, those with a platform weaponize their right to free speech in order to slander those they uneducatedly turn against and crush anyone brave enough to oppose them. I feel like this is what the whole book would be like. I haven't read the book and I have no intentions of reading the book, but this is like, you can just tell.
Suggest it for your book club.
So then it goes on to say, after 6 years of suppression and censorship, Andy Turner, the husband of the late Heather Turner, is breaking his silence. For the first time, Andy will speak about his beloved wife's suicide in a book that begins with a small-town boy fighting his way out of poverty. It will show the story of a tumultuous first marriage, the lasting effects of abuse that would go uncorrected by a failing court system, and a secret life that would be uncovered by officials looking for answers. So I could just imagine him sitting there writing this book. Yeah, exactly. Word vomit.
He's like, we need more adjectives.
So he, like, in way too many words, he's basically saying that he's been vilified on social media. People have accused him of being involved in his wife Heather's death. You know, could have been said in a lot less words than he used. Okay. So after Heather's death, controversy about the legitimacy of her marriage to Andy was made public. There was a marriage certificate found, and that was dated from 2014, and that named Heather and Andy as being married. A local pastor was listed as the officiant. Andy's grandmother passed away in 2014, and Andy and Heather were listed as husband and wife in her obituary. The pastor has apparently said that he did not agree to marry the pastor has allegedly said that he did not marry Heather and Andy. He claims that his signature had been forged on the documents. Heather's friends and a co-worker also came forward and alleged that Heather told them that she had never agreed to marry Andy. So this is kind of a weird part of this case. Like this, if it was dated 2014, I don't know, does it have to do with maybe her estate? I don't know. Like, why would they fake a marriage? Did Heather know about this marriage? I don't know. She was going by the name Heather Turner, listed as his wife in a family obituary back before she died. So it's kind of an interesting part to the case that raises some questions. Mm-hmm. In 2024, District Attorney Robert Lane and the Sheriff-elect Ashley Henson publicly discussed prioritising the investigation. On January 1st last year, 2025, Ashley became the Paulding County Sheriff, and she then ordered that Heather's case be prioritised. So after almost 8 years, things seem to be finally moving in the case. In February of 2024, Heather's father met with the DA, the sheriff, and investigators. Law enforcement met with some members of Heather's family in March 2025. They were together for hours, apparently, and they answered more than 200 questions about the case. In June last year, 2025, the DA said another meeting with the family would take place after outstanding forensic testing is completed. So what, after 8 years, what hadn't they tested? Like, I would be so pissed off as the family if they're like, oh, sorry, we haven't completed the testing. 8 years. After
it's
all
like,
of this.
it's a cold case because apparently you guys didn't do anything for half the time.
And I know that the new sheriff prioritized it and all that, but just it's insane that this stuff just sometimes sits on the shelf and doesn't get action, doesn't get tested. I know it's a funding issue and I know all that, but I would be very
They didn't even
angry.
interview the main suspect.
Yeah. So in February of 2026, which is almost 9 years after Heather died, the Paulding County Sheriff announced that Heather's death had officially been ruled as a suicide and that the case would be closed. They spoke about renewed forensic evidence, including DNA on the trigger guard of the gun. Investigators said only Heather's DNA was found there. They said that they tested for gunshot residue. Heather tested positive while Andy tested negative. They looked at handwriting of the handwritten note that was left behind at the scene, and they said it belonged to Heather. Investigators also said the physical evidence was consistent with a self-inflicted gunshot. Sheriff Ashley Henson ultimately stated that Heather's death has been ruled a suicide and said that the case was closed. So that seemed to be maybe, a resolution for the family. Whether or not they agree with that ruling is to be seen. But as soon as the sheriff announced this, the coroner who investigated the case back in 2017, Coroner Eberhard Fuller, came out and basically said that she doesn't really agree with that ruling. She said that she hadn't been formally presented with the evidence that had been used to reach that conclusion. The coroner requested the complete investigative, medical and forensic records before deciding whether or not she should amend the death certificate. So I believe the death certificate had the cause as undetermined. So for it to be changed to suicide, she wants obviously to see all this evidence. And she said that she would determine whether an inquest was warranted under Georgia law. So that was in February this year. So literally just in the last few weeks, in July this year, the coroner announced that she intends to carry out an inquest into Heather's death. She's released a very long statement, and I've picked out the most important parts of it. But basically, she was questioned about her investigation into Heather's death, so she addresses some of that. So I'll just read out the parts that I've picked out, and it's on the blog if you want to read it too. But the coroner said, during the Paulding County Sheriff's Office press conference concerning the death of Heather, the sheriff announced its closure of the investigation and presented her death as a suicide. Portions of my coroner's report were displayed, marked through and characterized as inaccurate, and that requires clarification. She went on to say, a coroner's initial investigative report documents the observations and information available under the conditions present at the scene. It is not an autopsy report, lab analysis, or final forensic conclusion. To characterize it as such does not accurately reflect either of its purpose or limitations. And just to kind of interrupt myself before I go on with this, I know in different states the process to become and to be a coroner is different. To become a coroner in Georgia, the main qualifications you must be a US citizen, be at least 25, a registered voter, possess a high school diploma or equivalent, and have no felony convictions. You also need to take a 40-hour basic coroner training course, and you must maintain your certification by completing 24 hours of in-service training every year. So a coroner is very, very different to a medical examiner or someone who's qualified to carry out full autopsies in Georgia anyway. So just to kind of add that in, these are her qualifications. She's absolutely admitting that she's stating that she didn't carry out the autopsy. Her observations were based on what she saw at the scene, and she's clarifying why she said the things that she did. Mm-hmm. The coroner went on to say, at the scene, I documented the apparent location of the entrance wound and the possibility of an exit wound based on what could be observed at that time. The autopsy later provided the controlled forensic examination necessary to identify the wounds and determine the projectile path. The coroner said that subsequent autopsy findings did not mean her preliminary observations were false or improperly documented. The coroner said that later determination does not make the scene report false, misleading, or improper. Later forensic findings do not invalidate preliminary scene observations. They reflect the normal progression of a death investigation from the scene to a full forensic examination. She went on to address the fact that she didn't recover any projectile at the scene. She said, I also documented that no projectile had been recovered because none had been recovered. The projectile was later located during the autopsy. I further documented that the portion of the wall appeared to have been washed because that is what I observed. The coroner went on to say, not every death investigated by a coroner requires an autopsy. In this case, however, I determined that further forensic examination was necessary. I reported Heather's death to the medical examiner and requested that an autopsy be performed rather than authorising the release of her remains without that examination. She said that she didn't pursue an inquest while the investigation was active because she didn't want to interfere with the investigation, and she only considered the inquest after the sheriff's office formally announced that it had closed the case and ruled it a suicide. So that was all at the end of July, and just in the last few days, August 13th, the coroner announced that she will be holding this inquest into Heather's death in January of 2027. She said she spoke to CBS this week, and she said that she has spent around 5 months conducting her own independent review of the case. The coroner said that she was not included in the meeting involving the sheriff and district attorney when the officials reached their conclusion about Heather's manner of death being suicide. The coroner said she did not know the meeting was taking place and therefore could not endorse a conclusion she had not independently reached. She went on to tell CBS, the only way that I know I did the right thing for Heather is to do this. She's meaning hold the inquest. And this might not be popular opinion that I am doing this, but it's my obligation. And at the end of the day, I need to do my job. She went on to say, we need to take the focus back to Heather. This is a real person and I want to be confident in my conclusions. So in terms of how the inquest will proceed is that there'll be 5 jurors who will hear the case. There'll be an additional alternate juror. They will be summoned through a regular jury process, and basically the inquest proceeding is civil, and it will determine Heather's manner of death, not whether anyone is criminally responsible for it. The coroner has said that she'll preside over the inquest, and that basically whatever the jury decides will be the coroner's recommendation for manner of death. She said at that point, after the jury have reached a conclusion, I guess if they do reach a conclusion, she plans to amend Heather's death certificate to reflect their determination. The jury do not need to reach a unanimous decision. They will go with the majority. So if there is one who thinks it's, let's say, homicide and the others think suicide, Heather's death will be marked as a suicide. So we might put some clips in here. The coroner's spoken a lot. The sheriff has basically said they are standing by their determination of suicide. I feel like there's a lot of politics out here. I understand that a ruling needed to be made after all this time. It does. I can see that there are arguments for both suicide and homicide. From what the sheriff has said in terms of the DNA, there's no gun residue on Andy, gun residue on Heather, only her DNA on the gun, all that type of thing. I can see somehow how they've made the determination of suicide, but I also see why there are still questions.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I'm very suspicious of this guy with the way that he's behaving.
That is it up to date with Heather's case. Obviously, there will be more updates next year, which we'll report on as they happen. The one thing I wanted to finish on is that Andy has released a statement. He released it on Friday, August 14th, so just a few days ago. This is a really, 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 really long statement. It goes along the same lines of his book, like just word vomit, word salad. So I'm not going to read it all. I'll put the whole thing on the blog if you want to read it, but I'll pick out some parts of it. It says, our family is deeply disappointed in Lindsay Eberhard Fuller, who is the coroner, not only because of her decision to pursue this inquest, but because of her continued incompetence she has demonstrated in carrying out the responsibilities of the office to which she was elected. Her initial report contained crucial mistakes that had serious consequences. Those mistakes fueled social media speculation and resulted in brutal bullying directed towards our family. When the findings of a medical doctor, the GBI, the Special Task Force, the Sheriff's Department, and other trained professionals contradicted her conclusions, instead of accepting the findings of the experts who actually have the training and expertise to investigate these matters, she chose to challenge them. That is deeply concerning. So he goes on and he says, the larger problem is with the position itself, and he's talking about the coroner. In our state, someone can have virtually no medical, forensic, or investigative qualifications and still be elected coroner. That should not be acceptable. The coroner's office carries enormous responsibility, and there should be minimum qualifications, education, certification, and ongoing training required before someone is entrusted with making findings that can have life-changing consequences for family. He goes, in our case, we witnessed what we believe was a shocking lack of basic competency. The coroner did not identify which side of the head contained the entrance wound, something that should be fundamental to properly documenting a death scene. She also failed to recognise the stifling on the wall when she entered the home. Had she properly examined the surrounding scene and recognized the same evidence elsewhere in the house, some of the statements and conclusions that followed could have been avoided. So he basically goes on and on to persecute this
and on
coroner.
and on and on and on.
Yeah, outlines why, she's done a horrible job. He says things their family have endured bullying, death threats, vandalism, property damage, and genuine concerns for our safety. This is not something we take lightly. Again, reiterating that the coroner needs to have more qualifications, but this person was elected to be the coroner based on the Georgia guidelines. I feel like this is just almost like a deflection. He's pissed that this inquest is taking place. For whatever reason, I guess is another discussion. But he goes, I'll just read his last bit. He goes, in conclusion, this boils down to the self-absorption, as in the coroner, she is gaining from social media for personal and political gain at the expense of our family. Our last concern for the inquest is, with all the media, it's impossible to find any jury member here who hasn't heard the negative comments generated due to the errors caused in the initial report. This inquest should be moved far from here, which I actually don't disagree with. Like if it's going to make him feel like it's more impartial, move it somewhere else. I absolutely agree. What's the harm in that? They're moving Alex Murdoch's trial. Do it. If that's going to be one less kind of bugbear for him to harp on about, absolutely move it. There's no detriment to that, I wouldn't think. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, the inquest is due to happen in a few months, January 2027. It will be interesting. I don't really know what I think in this case. As I mentioned, I do follow the Justice for Heather Turner Facebook page. It's a very, very active Facebook page. If you want to learn more about this case, I definitely recommend following it and checking it out. I guess the main theories about this is that this was a suicide, maybe because she was stuck in an awful, probably abusive marriage, allegedly abusive marriage. She was having job and career troubles. And I guess the other two options, really, the only other two, is that someone in the house was involved in a murder and that she was murdered by someone else. I don't think she was murdered by someone else. I feel like the main two is that suicide or that there's been some type of cover-up involving someone in her family.
Yeah, for me, it's his fault no matter what. Kind of like the same with Micah Miller, where if she did commit suicide, it's still his fault.
Yeah. Because
of how awful he is and abusive and just not a good person. And the other scenario would be, could he have murdered her? I could absolutely see that, because I think, I don't think he has any remorse for either scenario, because writing a book is crazy.
And putting a
writing
quote
a book about how you're the victim.
Putting a quote from your young child on the front cover, I don't know. I know that these kids now only have him as their parent, so obviously, and it seems like he's a very controlling person. He's obviously controlled the narrative. I just find it interesting.
She probably didn't even say that, the daughter.
Yeah.
He probably just wrote it.
It's totally different from what he said in the 911 call. So there's an inconsistency right there. Yeah. I don't want to, I honestly don't know what happened in this case. For me, it would probably be a 50-50 split that either Heather did take her own life. It sounds like there was a lot going on. Maybe she did feel trapped. She saw no other way out. But then I could also see there being some other type of third-party involvement. It's just hard to know.
I also think it is very weird. I know not unheard of, but for her to go into the shower, get naked, and then shoot herself.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sure it's happened before, but it just seems weird. Like, why would you want to be naked when you kill yourself?
And I'm not playing the devil's
Where'd the gun come from? She hid the gun in the bathroom?
But why? Maybe she was in the shower. I'm just speculating, obviously, but maybe she was in the shower. She knew that apparently this was the day she was going to get fired. Maybe she'd had a fight with Andy and she just thought enough is enough. I guess, why does anyone pick the moment?
Like, the gun would have had to have been there already, according to what he seems to have told police, was that she got up, gave him a kiss, so he was like awake and aware. He heard her go into the bathroom, shower, get into the shower. He didn't say like he heard her go into another room or something. So how did the gun get into the bathroom? Did she put it there ahead of time? Like, was she planning it always? Or,
and even if she wanted to do it, like, I don't want to get too much into graphic details either, but I know sometimes people pick a bathroom or an area like that because it's easier to clean, like thinking ahead in terms of consequences.
But just like, why get naked?
That's what I mean. Like, why hop in the shower? Why actually get naked? Like, most women would probably not want to be found naked in front of a whole bunch of, and I know that when you're deceased you don't care, but even just a thought process of a lot of females would not to get naked and then do it. You wouldn't think.
Yeah.
It does remind
I
me
don't think so.
A lot of the Micah Miller case. There is a Netflix documentary coming out on that Micah Miller case in the next week or so we might be revisiting our episode for her. But even like I think that this sounds like a horribly toxic relationship, no matter what the coroner's outcome will be, and whatever the outcome is, it was a horribly toxic relationship. Heather was in a very bad place, it seems. So whether or not she felt trapped or something else happened, I guess remains to be seen. I don't know if we will ever truly know based on the evidence that we've seen so far, and just kind of the politics that seem to be involved between Andy and his vitriol, plus he is disputing that the coroner did a good job, and now that the sheriff's findings kind of go against a little bit or don't support what the coroner initially stated anyway.
Yeah. I just don't like this guy. As soon as I read his bio, I just knew I didn't like this guy. I've been on 18 cruises. What? No one fucking cares. You know that he thinks he's literally God's gift to everyone that he's spoken to.
Very sad too for the 4 children who are now left behind without a mother, and are stuck with this father who is maybe feeding them.
And they don't know any better, I'm sure.
One-sided narrative.
Yeah. So we shall see what happens.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, and as I mentioned, like when I started thinking about it, the other case that came to mind was the case of Sarah Sweeney. What was her name? Sarah Sweeney.
Yes, that was the other one I was trying to think
Grace
of. I
Holland.
couldn't think of the names.
So they were 2 women who were with the same man years apart. His name was Robert Dowse. Those 2 women, they were both his fiancées at the time that they both died, and they died within a 4-year period. So again, very volatile relationships, fighting, questions about how they died. And her name escapes me, but there was even that woman, I think she was in Chicago, and her husband has now been arrested for her murder, but he threw her down the stairs and she lost a limb. I can't remember
her foot.
But like it just happens all the time that there's these, and I'm not saying that's what happened in this case because we don't know. And I also in the Micah Miller case, I am 99% sure she did take her own life. And I know there was a lot of questions about whether or not she did or not. But it just seems like there are these cases where there's so much toxicity involved that it raises questions about what actually happened to these women.
Yeah, it was Caitlin Tracy and Adam Beckering.
Yes. I remember now.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a lot of the same story, just different ways.
Yeah, it's very sad too. People get trapped in these relationships, no way out, and it's just, very, very sad for all the children especially.
Yeah. That's it for this episode. We'll keep an eye out for updates, but everything will be on our blog at truecrimesociety.com. If you want to listen to the 911 call in full and everything like that, it'll be on there. Make sure you're following us on Instagram. We're always posting updates on there at True Crime Society. If you want more content from us, check us out on Patreon. We do weekly bonus episodes. We do all the episodes ad-free, so you get 2 episodes a week, plus its own online community. We chat a little bit more there and have some fun community chats on there. So check us out over there if you want more content. And as always, if you could share to your Instagram stories, like what you guys are doing while you're listening to the podcast, you'll have to see what you all are doing and resharing them. And if you could leave us some Spotify comments, what you guys think of the episodes and all that, maybe you could be a listener of the week. And we love to see all the comments. So that's that. Thank you guys for listening. Stay safe out there. Oh, and let us know what you guys think about this case. Be curious to know what everyone thinks, obviously. But anyways, stay safe out there. Peace out. Bye.